I love the idea that Sky News, through their three morons on the Outsiders program, and I guess appropriately named Outsiders because they are outside of the mainstream somewhat, definitely trying to punch a hole through that wall so that they can become relevant. And so we have a clip here of the three morons talking about woke universities and how that some millionaire in the United States has chosen not to support Harvard University anymore because they're simply too woke. Now, the statement that comes from one of these clowns is that really, and this is from Rowan Dean, that we should dispense with stupid universities. So those universities which he doesn't agree with for whatever reason, I don't think there's any data necessarily to prove that what he's saying is true or not, and there can't be, because how does one define a woke university? So a university that produces people who can rationally think about the ideas that the people like these clowns present and criticise them, they're clearly the woke. So anybody who disagrees with somebody else is viewed as, or disagrees with them, I should say, is definitely woke. So, and I think it needs to be celebrated. It's better to be woke than asleep, such as these dudes are. But the idea that you should defund universities, the reality is that here in Australia, back in the early 70s, particularly I think the early 70s, when Gough Whitlam was in power, we dispensed with university fees. And I certainly am an advocate that that should be reinstated, that we shouldn't have private enterprise and others funding universities. Universities should be free, paid for by the state, and should be available to everyone. Now, that would scare the shit out of these guys because they would be arguing, oh my God, that would mean that because the funding comes from the state will be able to influence what is taught at universities. They don't like what's being taught at universities now, and most of the funding does come from the government, but they would be up in arms about the catastrophic results that would occur because people would become rational thinkers. So let's hear what they have to say, and I'll talk about it once I have finished.
Wackademia, Harvard donations, Rita.
Yes, this is a mega donor. He has donated hundreds of millions to Harvard over the years, and finally, I would say well overdue, Ken Griffin has said enough. The Joint's just producing these woke idiots. They're not elite any longer, and he doesn't want his money going. But how did it take him this long? Because the decline...
I like that notion that they're not elite. So does that mean then that what she's saying is that universities are now more available to a greater degree of the populace? So more and more people maybe are attending universities in the United States in particular, and that certainly is the case here. So people that come from low socioeconomic backgrounds, for example, are able to access universities in the United States, and particularly Harvard. So because it's not going to their version of the aristocracy, to their own billionaire class, that there's a whole host of people now who are attending universities. You don't fit within that hierarchical type of aristocratic type culture. Therefore, those universities are no longer elite enough for people like Ken Griffin. And this is the problem that they have. This is the problem that these guys have, is that universities would then become available to everyone. And what a terrible thing that must be, particularly if you sit on their side of politics, where they're fearful of people becoming educated. Heaven forbid. They might wind up with a completely different perception of the world, which may in turn mean that they may not necessarily agree with what these characters have to say. So he goes on to say this.
Decline in Harvard hasn't just come about in the last 6 months. I know the way they reacted to October.
It's been going on for decades.
Decades. And and they're patently racist with their admissions.
But we need to see this happening in Australia. You've got to.
What in the hell is she talking about? How are they racist in their admissions because they admit black people a lot? What is? It's interesting how these people can make these random statements. They don't get picked up by anybody. They don't get checked by anybody. And of course, the panel tends to agree with the person that says those bizarre statements in the first
Start
place.
defunding these stupid universities that are churning out all these woke idiots. Seriously, if you happen to be, you have this image of your days at university and you think, oh, well, I loved university when I was there, and sending money to these universities, no, they are poisonous, they are dangerous, most of them, not all of them, obviously.
Oh, he's such an idiot. And I like the way he qualified that. So some of them are, but not all of them. So I don't know who he's referring to specifically, but I remember my days at university when I was a mature age student, I hasten to add, I was 40, was some of the best days of my life. They were great. They extended my intellectual capacity, as limited as I thought that was at the time, but at least it stretched my imagination about what it is that I personally could achieve and how I interpreted and viewed the world. And I think that's what these people are afraid of. They're fearful that people may get a perception of the world that is different to theirs, that they themselves will find challenging, and certainly they will feel threatened by any changes that the populace have because they're well educated. Let me know what you think about any of this in the comments below. Great to hear from you, and lots of people have been commenting, and I really do appreciate it. And also, if you wish to email me, you can email me at the email address I've just put up on the screen. Okay, everybody, think about this. Are universities woke? No, they're not. That's a load of crap. Are these people dickheads? Yes, they are. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll get back to you. Take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.